one of the things that he says is, he says, on the Mount of Olives, there were actually places you could buy sacrifices. The pilgrims were coming in from all over the world. They couldn't bring their sacrifices with them, so you could actually purchase them here. One of the things that would happen, though, over the course of time is they would buy their sacrifice here, and then when they would get to the temple, the people who were inspecting the sacrifices were connected to the high priest and the whole. And remember, this is not legitimate high priests. These were descendants of the Hasmoneans. And essentially the priestly office had been purchased because there was a lot of money in it. This is why the Essenes withdrew from Judaism, from the city of.
What's going on here in the temple?
So anyhow, they would purchase here at reasonable. This was reasonable, but then they would get over there, and the inspectors who had made a deal with the whole system would say, "No, I'm sorry, that's not." So they would end up having to do the whole thing over again. And then the other thing is, one of the things that Edersheim says is the area where they set up shop in the temple area was the court of the Gentiles. And that's why Jesus said, "You have made my house, which is a house of prayer for all the nations." So in essence, the nation of Israel was to be a light to the Gentiles. In other words, God was giving His truth and His grace through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that message was to reverberate out to the nation. And instead, at the time of Jesus, what made Him so upset, because He was angry, a couple of things. One, people were using the court of the Gentiles to cut through as like a shortcut around the temple, and the other is the court of the Gentiles, which is where Gentiles could come and actually learn the truth about God. It had been turned into shops, sacrificial shops and money-changing shops. And they were, instead of being a light to the nations, they actually were preventing the nations from hearing the truth that came from, the law. Remember, we talked about the law. This is how God wants us to live. And the sacrifice, that you need a sacrifice to make that possible for you to pull off. So that's why He was so angry. Why was He so angry? So at the beginning of His ministry, He does it. And at the end of His ministry, He does it. He turns over the table of the money changers. So there was a whole system, and it was like the state of Illinois. Everybody had their hand out, right? Every politician had their hand out. And people were paying exorbitant fees, and using. And that was why Jesus was so upset when He saw that.